Hey, this is Jennifer and Megan. We are two sisters from South Carolina, and we're on a mission to discover more about our British grandmother's life in London by reading, researching, and sharing her love letters she wrote to her American soldier sweetheart during World War II. Our grandmother Lucy was born and raised in London, England, and our grandfather Jimmy was born and raised here in South Carolina. He was in the U.S. Army and was stationed near Salisbury when they first met. At some point, he visited London and he and Lucy met somewhere in Covent Garden. At the time of the first letter that we have, Lucy and Jimmy had already met, fallen in love, gotten engaged, and were planning on getting married there in London, and then moving to South Carolina when the war was over. But before they were able to get married, Jimmy was shipped off to France. They thought he would be coming back to London sometime soon after leaving, but as we now know, that did not happen. And from the moment they departed at the train station, it will be 2 years before they are reunited. And so this 2-year period that they were apart is what gave us the letters that we're reading today. It's such a beautiful love story that we just had to share it. Also, it's taken a life of its own as we've made so many amazing discoveries along the way. It's become an ongoing research project for us. So, if you're looking for an interesting, unique perspective on life, love, and London during World War II, then you've found the right place. We will take you through each of these letters and bring them to life as we have recently traveled to some of the exact places mentioned in these letters. Think of this as a historical love story come to life. So grab your favorite beverage and blanket and prepare to dive in with us. This is the All My Love Lucy podcast. We should start all the way from the beginning.
You think?
I think that would be a good idea. Hey, and welcome back to the All My Love Lucy podcast. We are here for episode number 24, and it has been a long break.
It has. Like, what, 2.5 months?
Yeah, or longer, yeah. It's been a long time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so here we are. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
It's good to be back. I've been excited to start again.
I have too. I've missed it. But it's been a much needed break. We both have a lot going on, so this has been a good break. And but we have missed it. So here we are. We're going to pick right up where we left off, letter number 24, and get going with that. But first of all, what have you been up to? I haven't even seen her since the last time we met, probably, right?
Or
maybe once or twice, but
yeah,
not
just
really.
Briefly.
Yeah, just in passing. So
yeah, just been working, and I have went on a few trips since we last recorded.
Yeah, that was one reason we took a break, because she was going to be gone week after week after week after week. But I'm glad you had a good time.
I did. I had a blast. No more this year. I'm done taking trips this year.
Now, on the cruise, you went on a pretty long cruise, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like 6 or 7 nights. Wow. Yeah, I think like 6 nights, 7 days.
Wow. How was that?
Oh, wow. It was,
was it good?
It was good. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was a long trip.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I don't want to ever do a cruise that long again. Maybe like 4 days at the most.
Right.
I felt like I was on that ship forever.
Yeah, I don't know that I would want to be on it that long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that your first one?
It was,
yeah. Especially the first one. I think I don't know that I would do very well.
Yeah, I was a little nervous.
I'm sure it was beautiful, but
it was beautiful. Yeah.
So, well, I have not been doing anything except working. And then I, started another job where I'm like waitressing a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's been fun.
Are you liking it?
I am. It's getting me out of the house and getting me around people and making a little extra money. So that's been fun, just on the weekends.
Yeah.
And so that's been good. I really like the restaurant, and the food's really good and all that, so it's been good. But we have not been together really since before your birthday.
Yeah.
And I've had something for you that I wanted to give to you on air for a long time.
Really?
Yeah, for your birthday. I've been holding on to it for a while. So let me grab it. You gotta You gotta close your eyes.
Close my eyes. Okay.
It's really big.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow.
I don't know where to put it.
Oh my goodness. That is awesome. It's our newspaper article.
Yeah, framed.
Framed.
Yeah. So that was your birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh,
Late.
Thank you. That means so much.
Yeah, I loved it, and I thought that would be just perfect
Yes.
for you to hang up somewhere.
I love it. Thank you so much.
I'll sit it back over here.
Okay.
There it is. And well,
That's awesome.
I think it's got a glare. All right, so again, as we always say, don't forget we have an uninterrupted reading of the letter at the end of the episode. We will continue with that, and we're going to go ahead and get started with letter number 24.
August 23rd, 1944. My darling Jimmy, you don't know how pleased and happy I was to receive another letter from my sweetheart today. You mentioned how nice it would be sitting in my armchair. Well, I wish you were there this very moment. And I wouldn't worry if my darling had the cramp in both knees because I'm sure it would be worth it.
She always talks about this armchair in her letter. So they must have spent a lot of time there while he was visiting.
Yeah.
And something else I was going to tell you, that I've looked up 133 where she lived in the flat.
Mm-hmm.
I found pictures and all of that, but I think I'm going to actually send the letter.
Really?
Yeah, and just see if I get a response. Because I've emailed the realtor that was renting it or selling it or something, and I didn't get a response. So I think I'm going to just mail a letter to the address.
That would be so interesting.
Just for fun, just to see. Kind of tell them the story about what we're doing and that her grandmother lived there and that she wrote all these letters from there, and just
oh, you should.
just see.
Yeah.
I think that'll be fun. So stay tuned for that. We'll keep you updated on that and see how that goes.
Yeah, that's exciting. She goes on to say, the news is very good today, and I expect you are very busy and continually on the move.
So she talks a lot about the news. So she's on it. She's watching the news. She's reading the newspaper. She's getting these clippings together. And we talked about the clippings, and there are lots of clippings. And so I found something really interesting when I was going through the clippings to just try to see what all was in there. And do you remember, and y'all too, do y'all remember when Lucy made the mention of a Professor J? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So she said something about Professor J, and we didn't know who she was referring to. We kind of thought it must be an inside joke or something like that. She said in that letter, I would like 100 kisses this very moment. What do you say? Professor J would have 40 fits, but I wouldn't care. And that was in episode number 3. Well, in searching through the clippings, I found something really interesting, and it solves the mystery.
Really?
Yeah, I'll put this up. I'll try to put a better picture of this up. But she had a newspaper clipping here. And it's a Professor Joad, Joad. And there he is. There's his picture there. I can get that on there good. And like I said, I'll try to maybe pop it up if I can. And so I got to researching him and looking up, why would she reference that when she said that? Because that seems very specific. She said she would give him 100 kisses. What do you say? Professor J would have 40 fits. Okay, why would he have 40 fits? So I started looking up about this guy, and his name was Cyril Edwin Mitchinson Joad, and he lived from 1891 to 1953. He was an English philosopher, author, teacher, and he was a BBC radio personality, so likely she heard him on the radio talking about things. He gained prominence during the 1940s and became one of Britain's most colorful and controversial intellectual figures. This is a quote I got from SpartacusEducational.com. It said, Joad left his wife in 1921 and moved to Hampstead in London, which, she lived in North Hampstead, London.
Mm-hmm.
So likely the area was very familiar with him. And he moved there with a student teacher named Marjorie Thompson. This was the first of many mistresses he had. His biographer had pointed out, sexual desire, he opined, resembled a buzzing bluebottle or a fly that needed to be swatted promptly before it distracted a man of intellect from higher things, because female minds lacked objectivity. So, in that statement there, it kind of explains why she referred to him when she said, I wish you were here, I could give you 100 kisses. He would have a fit, but I wouldn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she'd be distracting him with all this,
Oh, okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that he must have talked a lot about women being a distraction to men, and the sexual desire, all that kind of stuff. Not to make this anything more than PG, but you know what I mean? He must have talked about that. And it seems like his viewpoint on women was not very likable. And I guess that's probably why he was so controversial. Because of the things he talked about like that. So I'm assuming that's why she was referring to him when she referenced him when she said she was going to, give him all those kisses. So I feel like that's the mystery solved.
Yeah.
And she probably sent him that newspaper article there.
Mm-hmm.
So what is Jimmy up to now? Jimmy, according to an excerpt from Key to Command, the book by Michael Godbout. It's been a while since we've been on here, but we reference this book almost every time we record because this book has been a map to everything that Jimmy was doing and all that he had going on. And we're so grateful for this book. And so I'm reading this directly from the book during this time period. It says, First Lieutenant John M. Gregory assumed command of A Company, which is what Jimmy was a part of. Jimmy was in the A Company. After Captain Lewis was lost. Remember they had that ambush and they lost several. After the German advance was halted, the company attempted to keep up with the speedy advance of the divisions. Heat and dust during the day and sporadic German air attacks at night plagued the working crews. However, the hospitality of the populace made up for some of the inconveniences. Many prisoners were captured near the bivouac area, especially while Corps was at Quebec. The many pockets of enemy resistance left behind by the divisions in the swift advance enabled A Company to get credit for the capture of over 60 prisoners during the month. And that was, I'm assuming that was August, around the same time period. So that's kind of an overview of what Jimmy is up to at this moment in time that Lucy's writing this letter. And they're soon going to be moving on to Belgium and then on to Germany. So that's going to get interesting, even more interesting.
Well, my pet, as I wrote you last night, there is not much fresh news except to tell you I still love you and miss you more every day. But it won't be long, sweetheart, until we are together. So keep smiling, my precious darling, and take great care of yourself.
So Pet, and she calls him Pet here. And this is the first time we've heard her call him that. She's not called him Pet before. And so I looked it up, and this, of course, is a term of endearment, and it's most commonly used in the northeastern parts of England. Have you ever watched that show called Vera? It's on BritBox. It's like a detective show. Vera, she's like this main detective, and she and her team, they investigate really complex murders, and she's just so funny. She's like very, I don't know the word to describe it. If y'all have seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about, but she's kind of not crude, but kind of just real harsh, but loving at the same time. But she calls everyone Pet. She calls people Pet all the time. And so I noticed that when I read this letter, I was like, oh, Vera does that. And so I looked at the show, and the setting is in Northumberland, England. So I'm not really sure why Grandma Lucy would have picked that up where she lived. But I just found that interesting that she says that here. That she calls him Pet. Because it is very common. Like on that show, immediately I was like, Vera does that all the time. So I guess it's just a area. I don't know. I don't know, but
I wonder if she continues to call him that, or if
I don't
it's
know.
just like a...
Yeah, I don't know. But Vera uses it not just in people that she's like friendly toward or whatever. She also, the people she's investigating or the people she's brought in to question about things, she calls them Pet too. So it's not like she's always using it in a nice way. But anyway, I know I'm talking a lot about that, but I found that interesting.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
the first time she called him that. So
I cannot go to bed tonight as I am fire watching, but I shall say a little prayer for you just the same, and I will be thinking of you all night.
So Firewatching, we talked about this extensively before, and just a quick overview. We did, like I said, discuss this it was episode number 9, but I did want to go back over this because this is a very important piece of information about what Lucy as a civilian was doing during this wartime. We know what Jimmy was doing. We talk about what he was doing and the awesome, important things, the vital things that he was doing during this time. But Lucy, as a civilian, was also involved in some very important job duties here where she was in her neighborhood. And so fire watching is what she was doing. And so just a quick overview. The German bombers were dropping a combination of high explosive and incendiary bombs, which were the bombs that were filled with those highly combustible chemicals like magnesium and phosphorus, or the napalm bombs, all that. And so the sole purpose of these bombs were to spread fires everywhere. They wanted to burn London down. And so they were dropped in clusters and would quickly start fires that would spread rapidly unless they were extinguished immediately. So to combat this, civilians were encouraged to volunteer as fire watchers and to draw up rotations with their neighbors. Air raid wardens would issue stirrup pumps and train people on how to use them, and we'll talk more about that in just a second. But in May of 1942, a order was issued which made it compulsory, or basically required by law, for women to enroll in these fire guard duties. So women between the ages of 20 to 45 became eligible for this fire watching duty. This, of course, was an unpaid position, and it is estimated that by the end of December of 1943, 6 million people were enrolled in this fire guard organization. That just seems so hard to grasp. 6 million people were enrolled in that.
Wow.
That's a lot. And many of them died during their efforts to control these fires caused by these incendiary bombs. I posted a video of a guy demonstrating some of the tools the civilians would use. I posted it on the Facebook page. So if you want to go back and find that and watch that, it's very interesting. I can also link it here in the description of this video. But I wanted to go over some of these instructions on how to use these tools that they were given, because Grandma Lucy would have had to be trained in this and ready at any given moment to do this. They were given equipment, like we've mentioned, the stirrup pumps and sand buckets, sand mats, dark glasses, and things like that. So we'll start with the sand buckets. The instructions say to lay the sand bucket on its back, shovel out the sand, cover the bomb, then place the bucket upright. And you can see that I'm going to put some pictures, and you can see that in the picture. Then you had to scoop the bomb into the shovel, tip it into the wooden bucket, and carry it to a safe place. Can you imagine doing that?
Absolutely not.
I imagine I would freak out if I saw one, first of all. And then to remember all those little steps on how to do, what to do first, and all of that.
Yeah.
That's probably why a lot of people died. I imagine people were nervous and scared and maybe didn't handle it properly or got there too late or something. Next, there was the sand mat method. It says to first shield your face with the sand mat as you rush up to the bomb. So I'm gathering here that there's no option of running away. Like if you're on fire guard duty, you're going to be getting rid of this bomb if you come across it. Mm-hmm. You're not running away from it. So it says to cover your face, shield your face as you rush up to the bomb. And then in small writing it says that a good substitute for a sand mat is a sugar bag half filled with dry sand and either tied or sewn at the top. So you could improvise if you didn't have an actual sand mat. So if you weren't issued the sand mat and you wanted to, I guess, prevent getting your face, shattered by the bomb, you could use that method with this sugar bag. Next, I know this, I'm not laughing because it's funny, I'm laughing because it just sounds so outrageous. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine having to do it. Mm-mm. Next, you place the sand mat on top of the bomb and then simply get away quickly. But you have to take care of it first before you run away. You have to run to it.
I just couldn't imagine.
I can't either. Mm-mm. Imagine living like that. She lived like that. Now, I've said this before. I do not know, and so far from what I've read, I do not know that she ever encountered an actual bomb. I don't know that she ever came and had to handle it herself. I don't know that she had to do that. We may come across a letter later because we've not read all the letters that tell us differently, but as far as I know, she did not. But she still had to be trained to do this and be willing to do this if she did come across it. So then the next method, we've gone over this before, is the stirrup pump method. It must be for when the incendiaries have already caught fire, and it requires 3 people. So it says you enter the burning room on your hands and knees. So the other methods are if it's not on fire yet. So you're going to either use the sand or the sand mat. Those are first if they're not on fire. But then if they're on fire, you're going to ditch those methods and you're going to go straight to the stirrup pump method, and you're going to need help. So it says you enter the burning room on your hands and knees. Open the door slowly. Keep down low to avoid smoke and flames. Then the operator of the stirrup pump must stay outside of the room, and a third person brings more water. Take cover and direct the jet of water on burning fabrics, etc., but not on the bomb itself. And the reason for that is, it goes on to say, never throw water on an incendiary bomb because it will explode. But spraying an incendiary bomb makes it burn out quicker. But a jet of water must not be directed on it. How confusing is that?
That just sounds so crazy.
It sounds contradictory to me. Yeah. But I guess it's the pressure. Mm-hmm. The amount of pressure. So you don't want it to be a hard stream of water. So there again, you're going to be panicking, thinking this is about to blow up in your face.
Yeah.
And that's, again, probably why a lot of people died when they came across this. So I pulled the following excerpt from the BBC World War II People's War article about the stirrup pumps, and I believe this quote was taken from an air raid precautions handbook called the Fire Guard's Handbook, 1942. So I just want to make sure I give credit where credit is due and tell where I get the information from. But it says, the duty of a fire guard is to take turns in watching for the fall of fire bombs, to warn the neighborhood when they fall in the area for which he is responsible, to help promptly control them and thus to prevent small fires from becoming big fires, and to fit himself by training to perform the work efficiently. So they have to be capable physically to do this. It is work which sometimes requires courage and endurance. It involves the sacrifice of time, that can sometimes be ill-spared, and we've talked about how Lucy is working all day and then she's having to fire watch at night once or twice a week. So sacrificing the time, and often entails a great deal of tedious waiting and watching. But it is work which must be done if the homes and industries of the nation are to be saved. So again, thinking about how much Lucy is working and how she must be exhausted. I'm sure her time is, like it says, ill-spared, and it's probably boring because so far we haven't seen that she's come across a bomb, which I'm glad, but still, just sitting and waiting after you've been at work all day, I would probably doze off.
Oh, yeah. Me too, for sure.
But something interesting that we learned when we went to St. Paul's Cathedral in London, we were listening to our tour guide talking about the fire watchers who basically saved the cathedral from being destroyed during that time. During the war, St. Paul's Cathedral faced the very real threat of aerial attacks, and so to protect the iconic landmark, a dedicated group of fire watchers known as the St. Paul's Watch stepped up. Their mission was to keep watch over the cathedral, extinguish fires, and prevent harm. The watch operated every night during the air raids. Their primary duty was to be in position to respond swiftly to incendiary bombs and prevent them from catching fire and, of course, burning everything down. St. Paul's Cathedral survived 2 direct hits from high explosives during the Blitz. Additionally, several near misses occurred, including a bomb that fell near the west steps but failed to detonate. So it was spared. And then they call it the miracle at St. Paul's. An incendiary device lodged on the roof, threatening the lead dome, the iconic dome that everyone can see from all over London. Fortunately, it dislodged and fell to the stone gallery floor and was smothered with a sandbag, saving St. Paul's. The fire watchers' dedication ensured that St. Paul's Cathedral stood defiantly amidst the destruction of wartime London. Their bravery and vigilance preserved this historic landmark for generations to come. We are very grateful for these fire watchers. Our grandmother was a fire watcher. She was in her neighborhood a fire watcher, but she was a part of these people who stepped up during this time and sacrificed of themselves to save London and to save the homes and the industries and these iconic landmarks and precious places there. And so I'm very proud to know that she was a part of that organization that stood up as civilians to help out.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. It's awesome to think about her doing that.
She ends the letter with all my love from your Lucy.
So we continue on this journey with Lucy and Jimmy as they detail their life and their love and all the things during this time. We're so grateful to have these letters so that we can read about it. We're thankful that Lucy was such a detailed writer and really a historian, as she details a lot more coming up. I can't really express to you how much more detailed she's going to get in these letters and things about the war that she personally experienced, and it's just really interesting. And next time, I thought this was funny, next time she's going to talk about her cooking skills, and evidently Jimmy was not fond of them. So that's going to be funny. So don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. We've got so much great information coming your way, and we really appreciate y'all hanging out with us today.
So if you don't want to miss any of our upcoming episodes, make sure you subscribe, give us a follow, like, share with your friends, and you are always more than welcome to email us at allmylovelucy@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you if you have any questions, comments, and just join in on the conversation.
Absolutely. Love to hear from you, and thank you again for joining us today. As promised, we're going to end the episode with an uninterrupted reading of the letter. So until next time, enjoy. August 23rd, 1944. My darling Jimmy, You don't know how pleased and happy I was to receive another letter from my sweetheart today. You mentioned how nice it would be to be sitting in my armchair. Well, I wish you were there this very moment, and I wouldn't worry if my darling had the cramp in both knees, because I'm sure it would be worth it. The news is very good today, and I expect you are very busy and continually on the move. Well, my pet, as I wrote you last night, there is not much fresh news except to tell you I still love you and miss you more every day. But it won't be long, sweetheart, until we are together, so keep smiling, my precious darling, and take great care of yourself. I cannot go to bed tonight as I am firewatching, but I shall say a little prayer for you just the same, and will be thinking of you all night. With all my love, from your Lucy.
If you are hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that, we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We truly hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope you'll return for the next episode of the All My Love Lucy podcast.